Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Learning Skills Daily. I'm your trainer, Sean, and I will be with you for the duration of this Google Docs beginner. Now, this course is for people that have really no idea what Google Docs is, or maybe you've dabbled with it and just want to learn more about what you can do with Google Docs. First off, we got to always figure out what on earth is a Google Doc. It's not a presentation software. It's a way to write. It's a place to put down your thoughts and feelings and to write that masterpiece novel. What are you going to do with Google Docs? You write papers, you write books, ideas, articles as a way to express who you are. I've written over 40 books, and unless I use Google Sheets, because I do a lot of data, because I write genealogy books. When I write books that have to do with the history of a person or a history of something, I use Google Docs, and we'll get right into why I use Google Docs over anything else. Now, what are some of the things that we're going to learn in our beginner course? We're going to learn how to navigate the text. How to enter it, how to format it, how to edit it, how to use graphics, how to view it. We're also going to talk a little bit about how to proofread your paper, spell check, grammar check, so on and so forth. And also we're going to talk about how to publish it. So in this course, we're going to really basically just talk about the functionality of how to use Google Docs. We're going to, talk about saving it, which you don't save in Google, but we'll talk about that a little bit. How to open it, how to review what we've the whole interface. And of course, you'll get your opportunity to pause the video and do a little bit of entry, formatting your text, editing some stuff, and some of the basic features that we have. We're going to throw in some graphics, go do some stuff there. And we're also going to talk about some of the other various tools, not the real high-tech tools. We'll talk about that in the advanced class. But some of the basic tools that really anybody and everybody can use, should use, in order to format your text and to edit it, because there are different ways that you'll want to pursue this if you're writing something, if you're writing a paper, or if you're writing an article. Do you want a left justify? Do you want a newspaper justify? And really all of those things. And finally, before we're all done with this nice 60-minute training, we're going to talk about how to view it, how to put it into different formats, obviously how to proofread it, which is very, very important, and how to prepare it so you can distribute it, or how to publish it, which is really cool because you can actually publish your paper or whatever. So sit back, strap in. We've got a long ride ahead of us, and I hope that you're ready to get started. The first thing you have to do, obviously, is to have a Gmail account, and then I'll show you the various ways to get into a blank Google Doc. So here we go. All right, let's hit the ground running. Obviously, we've already talked about what a Google Doc is, and we need to figure out how to get there. Now, there are a few ways to get there, and I'm going to show you all three. So the first thing that you can do is when you get to your main screen, and obviously if you're running a PC or a Mac, you're not going to automatically get to this screen. You really need to download Google Chrome. And if you're on a Chromebook, then you're set to go because it has Google Chrome, because it's a Chromebook. All right. So the first thing you can do is once you get to this screen, now if you're not at this screen, you can type in www, here, I'll do it for you here, www.google.com, and push enter, and it takes you right to the Google screen. Now, this is where you need to be, maybe. There's other ways to get to it, but we'll definitely figure that out here in a few. But up here in the corner, you see the 9 little circles or dots. If you click it, you can go right to Google Docs. And it's right here. And you click it, and ta-da, you're at this screen. Now, how can you get to this screen if you're not in Google Docs? Well, you type in docs with a S, plural, .google.com, and voila, it takes you right there. Now, if you've been with me for previous videos, you'll know that I don't like this. I never use the templates. For me, they're too hard to manipulate because they're all formatted in a particular way, and you've got to follow the formatting, and you got to do this, and you got to do that. So I really don't do this. Although you can click blank document, and it's going to pull up your document for you. What I like to do is I like to go into my drive, and we all know how to get to your drive, drive.google.com. They make it so easy. The only one that's not easy is when you have to go into, I think it's the pictures, when you go into the drawings, and it's still docs.google.com. Well, we'll get to that maybe one of these days. Anyway, so we're here at your drive, drive.google.com, and if you go to new, you could go to new doc, and it takes you right to the doc. It doesn't take you to the templates. It doesn't take you to anything else. It takes you directly into the docs. Now remember, docs is a document. Slide is a presentation, like the old slides that your dad would bring out of these trips. Sheets is your Excel, is your spreadsheet. So Google's trying to make it as easy as they can. Now, y'all remember, first off, the rule. This is a website. This isn't a file. It is a website. So there's really no saving. Now, if you're offline, you want to make sure that you kind of, I don't know, maybe save it as a PDF so when you get back online that everything, there's a weird stuff with going offline and online, but you want to make sure that you do that. Number two, the second thing you want to do is always, always, always give it a name, because at the end, you'll try to share it with somebody and they'll go, you can't share this. You haven't even named it. I mean, come on now. So we're going to name it First Test Doc. All right. All right. I want you to do this. Pause the video. I want you to go in either through the waffle. They call it a waffle. Here, let me go back somewhere. There we go here. Here's the waffle. That's the waffle. Even go docs there, docs.google.com, or you can also go into your drive, and if you don't want all those templates sitting there enticing you, click new, click Google Docs, and get to your doc. Once you get to your doc, give it a name. So go ahead and pause the video. Now, the next thing that we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about how to import and convert a Word document to docs. Okay? So there's a few different ways to do this. But the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go into a Google Drive, and we're going to go to New, and we're going to go to File Upload. Because you got to get it into your Google Drive, unless you're on a Chromebook. If you're on a Chromebook, it all changes. So we're going to go down here to Downloads, and we're going to see that Microsoft Word here, and it's going to bring it into your Google Drive, and then you're not going to be able to find it. So you're going to have to click on it, and it's going to bring this up. Okay, and so you're going to go into Recent, and hopefully it'll pop up there. It does. So you're going to double click it. We do not want it to do that. We want to. All right. Now, it would say that you have a Microsoft Word document and you really want to turn it into a Google Doc. Now, I will warn you that if it's 100, 200, 300 pages, you just don't want to do it. You could try if you got a lot of time on your hands, but you want to make sure that at least if you're going to do that you try a few first, because you don't know if the format is going to come over seamlessly or if you're going to have to do a lot of editing. So that's kind of a warning, but I'm going to show you how to do it anyway. So what you're going to do is you're going to go into your drive, and you're going to go to File Upload, and you're going to find the file. Now, I did this before and forgot to take it out of the zip, so I had to do it again. So it's right here, and you're just going to open. And what it's going to do, and when you go into recents, this is going to put it right here. Okay. Now, you can right click on this and open with Google Docs. And what it's going to do is it's going to turn it into a Google Doc. And then you kind of have to look at it to make sure that all the formatting came through, that it looks exactly how you want it to look. And I'm already not happy because I know for a fact that this, let me double check here. You can always go back into your doc and go like this, and it'll come up. See, there are a few things here that I think this is supposed to be down here somewhere. You can drag it, but remember when I looked at it that this little icon. So you just have to, and look, it disappeared on me. So I'll put it back where it was. So now notice it says .docx. Now this one, okay, you'll want to make sure it says save as Google Docs. You're not really saving it. It's a website. I guess generally you are saving it, but you're going to want to go in and save as a Google Doc. When you do that, you now have 3 of them up here, and it's going to take a little while. Notice it's gone. Save to drive. What it does is it saves a backup copy. It's a long, complicated story. But notice you don't have the docx anymore because this is imported as a Word document. So just kind of keep that in mind. You can also, now notice the difference. This has a W and this has like 3 horizontal lines. That's because this is still a Word document. So just kind of keep that in mind as you're going through. You can preview it, and what's going to happen is you're going to get this. And the preview is actually terrible because it doesn't have the words. They all disappear and everything. So again, I caution you that if you're going to do something with bringing something in from Word or from, there are all kinds of the free, what's Open Office. Just be careful that when you bring it over, that it looks exactly how you want it to look. And definitely test it a few times before you end up bringing over a 500-600 page book that you want to edit. All right. Because that will cause you nothing but lots of stress. All right. So we'll kind of leave those up there a little bit, and we want to get back into our Google Doc. This is our first Google Doc, and we're going to talk a little bit over the next few minutes here on how to navigate the interface. Everything is up here that you need and right here. And we're going to spend some time over the course of the next few minutes here just kind of talking about what each of these do. File, of course, is what does just about everything. You can create a new doc from here. You can open up a previous doc. You can make a copy of a doc. If you have something that's important that's been sent to you and they tell you to be careful with it, please make a copy. Manipulate the copy all you want. Always make a copy. We're going to talk about sharing later. We're going to talk about how to email it. Now, when you download it as a PDF. You can also download it as a Word document. Now, the same things apply. If you turn it into a Word document and you just send it to somebody without viewing it, editing it, you may get an email back saying, whoa, hang on just a second. I can't make heads or tails of this because the formatting kind of, cattywampus. You got your open Word, open document. You can do plain text. You can do rich text for those of you that have, been on Windows computers since they started. You could turn your document into a web page that ends in .html or .htm to where you can actually attach it to a web page. I've done that before. EPUB, I really haven't used EPUB, and I've not used Markdown much. Approvals we'll get to. You can rename it here, but you can also double click it up there. You can move it to the trash. You can add a shortcut to the drive. I don't usually do any of this stuff. I don't move it from here either. I just drag it from here. I'll just, I'll open up my drive. In this case, I really don't have any folders, and I'll just move it this way. You can move it. So you can do whatever you want, but that's how I do it. And of course, the version history, we'll get into that to where you can go back and see things that you've done in the past. Or if you're a teacher and you want to see what your students have done, you can also do that there. Make it available offline. We'll talk about that also a little bit. You could change the language if you want. I have never changed the language. I use this a lot. I don't like 1-inch margins. Top and bottom, I usually change to like 0.5 or 0.75. If I'm writing a book, I really don't change these because of the binding. But you can also go pageless. You can do the whole document. You can apply it to just certain parts of the document. You can make your document landscape. You can change your paper size if you're writing a book and you want it to be something different. So that is the file, and we'll get more into this as we move on. But I want you to go ahead and pause the video and just take a look at what's under file. Okay, continuing on, we're just going to kind of give you an idea of some of these. I don't use a whole lot of them, but we need to go through them anyway. Under edit, you can undo and redo. You can also do this right here. You can copy and paste, but you can also Control C, Control V, Control P. You can paste without formatting. That's very, very important. If you, for whatever reason, if you're like copy and pasting from a Word document, you'll probably want to paste without formatting. But if not, you're going to possibly bring the formatting over from a website, from a journal, from something, and it's going to be all cattywampus. So be careful with that. Select all. You can kind of do that. Find and replace, I use a lot, but I Control F all the time. But if I need to replace something, like if I've misspelled a word consistently throughout the document, you can find and replace, and you can do all kinds of fun things. View, you can view it in a lot of different modes. I never change the mode myself. You can also view the comments, and we'll talk about comments as we move along here. I always have the ruler up there. The reason is because sometimes I want things to be right in the middle. And with the new Google Docs, they will give you, like, if you're trying to put something in the middle, they'll give you horizontal and vertical lines. You can have a toolbar if you're doing some math things. You can do full screen, which I don't suggest because then you can't see the, you can't, if you do full screen, you can't see anything. So formatting is very important. Again, it's all along here, but you can do some formatting. If you want to do something with your headers and your footers, you just click at the top and your header will be, you can put something in there and then it'll do every page. You can skip the first page. You can put your page numbers in. You can do all kinds of things with that. I've never switched to paperless format. Tables, and we'll get into that here in just a moment. You can clear all formatting. If you've converted something over from Word and it's all messed up, you can clear all the formatting. And then you got to do the formatting yourself. Under tools, this is really important, and I'm just going to kind of just let you know that they're there because we're going to get into a lot of the tools with the dictionary and the spelling, and we may do a little bit with tasks and so on and so forth. So, but you can do a lot of things in here. I usually only use the spelling and grammar. I use word count. I don't anymore, but when you're in college, you use word count. It'll tell you what your word count is and how many pages and characters and so on and so forth, especially if your instructor says it has to be 500 words long. And of course, extensions we'll talk about a little bit too. And of course, you can also search the help. I never search the help. I just go to Google and say, hey, how do you do this? So that's kind of that. And again, it's all across here. You've got your menus that you can change if you created a menu. I've never created a menu. This right here is really cool. If you're creating a very, very large document, you can set places that you can click on. It's like a table of contents or an outline, I guess. So we'll kind of leave that up there, and it's kind of fun to play with a little bit. But you can do all of that. You can change your text. I've only done this a few times. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. I just make my own. Obviously, you can change your font. You can change your size. You can also do that, by highlighting the word or whatever. You can bold, italicize, or underline. I do a lot of highlighting. You can change the color. This is for if you want to add a link. You can add a picture from here, but you can also, I have my images up here, to be perfectly honest. I don't really use, where's it at? Search the web for pictures. Because they're only going to give you certain ones. And I find that if you click on here, you got to get this little pop up here, and it's just not very user friendly to me. But I guess if you typed in dog, you'd probably get quite a few. Yeah. But so it's just up to you. I kind of go out and find them myself. So you can do your justifications here, left, right, middle, if you want to center it. I use bullets a lot. I like to use fancy bullets sometimes. I think it's this one. No, this one here. Yeah, you get your little fancy bullets with your arrows and so on and so forth. And of course, you get your numbers if you want to do an outline. But this is going to be your best friend right here. And there are some times when you're using a computer that sometimes half of this is gone and you have your three, they call it a hamburger, but it's three vertical dots. You have to click it to bring it up. And I'm kind of dealing with that right now a little bit with some things that I'm doing, and it's kind of annoying. But I don't use two screens like I'm using right now. So why don't you go ahead and pause it and try to look at some of those things that you can do across the top. And when you're done, we are going to create our first doc. Yay! We're going to create a document, which we've already done. We're going to create it with a template. And I'm doing this kicking and screaming because I don't like templates. You may love templates, and that's okay. You can love templates. I personally just don't like them. But if you go to docs.google.com like we did, and I'll do it again, docs.google.com. And you got to pick. I do some brochures a lot, so we're going to click brochure. And you got to wait till it pops up, and there you go. And so you got all these words that don't make any sense that you have to change or delete, because if you don't, they'll show up on your brochure. I just like to create my own. Now, there are times, it's going to be kind of hard to create this up here, but there are times when I guess it's valuable. And, if you like them and you like the little fancy dancy things, I don't really print in color. I guess if you sent it and you emailed it, it would still be in color. But this is how you use a template. And then what you do is you change. And you just continuously go through this whole thing and change everything. Product brochure, you probably don't want it called that. Maybe you want to call it products available, and then product overview. And you got to think, do I want to call that? You got to change it to the picture. You don't want a picture of a cell phone here, right? So you could do all of these things, and then you can just, if you really just want a lot of guidance, and remember I told you before about, if you click here, it'll take you to the various spots. Now, this isn't really helping us much. It's just taking us to, and this is that's heading. This is how you use these over here. There's title, and that's, I just don't use them that much, and then they're all heading, it seems like. That's normal text. And so anyway, you can do that. You can use different types of documents if you want. And of course, yes, if you want to say that you're saving it, you can make it available offline by clicking it. And of course, you need the extension because I'm in incognito. You automatically have it if you're not incognito. You can also download it. But just to make things available offline. I think from what I remember, my account doesn't automatically have it. I have this new account that I'm using for this. So anyway, so you can do a variety of different things. And we click backwards. I think we can get out of it. Yep. So notice you have a template gallery, and you can do all of these recipes, a pet resume, if your dog needs a job. Newsletter. This is really cool because I've created newsletters before. But again, I like to create my own because I may not like this. I may not like this weird because, once again, remember the brochure had this weird thing at the top? This is the same exact type of template. So maybe you don't like that. So you're going to go back and you're going to look for some more resumes. I know that AI will do that now. Brochure for that. Training proposals. They have quite a bit of different ideas here. Different types of essays. There's a book report for if you're doing school. A lesson plan for you teachers. That's not a very pretty one. I guess if you're going to do a lesson plan and you're going to use a template, you probably should use the pretty one here. There we go, math first period. And again, you can change, but the thing, again, I'm not trying to to disparage templates, but what if your evaluator wants different things than just overview and purpose and standard educational standards and so on and so forth. So, you can use them if you want. It's good, I guess, if you're just kind of beginning and want a lot of guidance. But that's kind of how you use templates. Now, we're going to go back into our doc. And to use the help here, you can search the menus and it'll tell you where it's at. The menus, full screen. I don't really know about that, but you got docs help here. You got some training and so on and so forth. Keyboard shortcuts, which are kind of important if you like to use those. I don't use a whole lot of them, but you could. But when you click on help, you can change the page settings, edit, format a spreadsheet, and insert it. We'll do all of that kind of stuff a little bit later, either now or in the advanced. You can ask the help community, or you can just search help. How can I find, oops, did I spell find wrong? I did. A template. And it'll hopefully, using templates, you kind of gotta scroll down. You can probably add templates. So you can click on template and it'll kind of give you a step-by-step guide on how to use them, how to show them, how to, it tells you how you're signed in. You got a little video here. Google does a fabulous job with their help. They really, really do. They do a really good job. So using help this way, again, as I told you before, I usually just Google it, but you could use your help here. I probably should. Keyboard shortcuts, it tells you exactly what they all are. You can also search if you want to do something specific. Control F, told you before. Control H will give you find and replace. You can define words. You can do all kinds of things. So help is your best friend if you're new to this. So why don't you go ahead and pause? Why don't you try to get into a template, see how it works for you, and then we'll move on. All right, so we've got some of the basics down on how to use Google Docs. Now let's do some typing. You can do some typing any way that you want. So if you decide that you just want to type, we've got 3 different types of like text here, and you just type. Now, say you want to get fancy. Say that you want this to be the header and you want it to be bold. You push the B, you want it to be underlined, you push the U, and then you can make it stand out by clicking the plus sign. You can also click here and it'll give you a variety of different font sizes. You can also type in your font size. Be careful not to type in a font size and that you mess up with, because you will end up, it's gone. You know why it's gone? Because it's 350. So it's going to be in like 4 pages. So you got to be real careful if you lose your text, that you haven't ended up doing a text size that's just way off the charts here. You can also change the type of text. And what I like about Google Docs, most of them do this now, is that it gives you a preview of what the text is going to look like. And you have several here that you can choose from. There are a lot more in some of the other programs, but usually I don't stray too far away from Arial. I'll get into Roboto a little bit and Times New Roman and do some Verdana, but let's just use Lobster. Now, I don't like where that's located, so I go over here and I click here, and it's left justified, and I want it center justified. But look what I've done. I've also don't want that center justified. I want that like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change my entire text. I love it that it has borders. It makes it so much nicer when you have borders. Now, we've done this. The text is a little small, so we're going to make it a 13. I usually, when I'm writing, don't go above 11, 12, sometimes 13. It just really depends on what you're doing. Of course, you can change this normal text. You can go up here and change it to a title. and now it's going to revert. But notice you have test over here for your outline. Now what you'll want to do is go back in, and you can change it back and give it all the nice pretty little formats. Now I will caution you, sometimes, and I don't know if I can recreate it or not, but sometimes you can make, yeah, there we go, ugly, you can't even read it. If you take off the bold, sometimes it'll fix it a little bit. You just kind of have to play with it to see exactly what's best for you and what's going to work out the best. Now, and then you just type. I mean, you can type, you can do whatever you need to do as far as that goes. Obviously, here we're here at the end. We're going to have a carriage release, and it's going to go to the next page. You can also create your own page breaks if you want. You can do that also by going right here and doing a page break. And it'll take you right down. It'll say, now what I've done is I've created some weird formatting that I really don't like, and I'm going to go back and undo it by clicking the undo key, because what it'll do is that you won't type anymore on that page. You'll type on the next page, and it'll give you a page break. So that's something to definitely consider and to look at. Now, say that I want this also not to be normal text, but I want it to be a header. Looky right there. Let's change this to heading of my paper. And notice it changes over here. So if you've got a big, long 400-page novel that you've written, the next great novel, you can go to each section over here. Like when I write books about people, I'll have the ancestor at the top, and then below that'll be his children, and I'll set the children up as headers so I can go directly to that child, because a lot of my books are 300, 400, 500 pages. So why don't you take a pause? Why don't you try that? Type something on your paper. We'll get into some formatting and some border colors and some cool stuff here as soon as you're finished. So go ahead and give that a shot. Remember also that you can go up here and you can change your spacing to make it double spaced. Remember the days when we had to do double spacing? You can change it to double space here. You're going to add a space before the paragraph, add a space after the paragraph. I don't really mess with this too much. You'll get a lot of this when you're transferring from Word into a Google Docs, and sometimes you can't change it, and it drives me absolutely insane. All right, so there's a feature that I never use hardly, but I'm going to show you how to use it. And if you want to, you can. It kind of makes things a little bit easier. But you'll notice that this is called Impact. We've got Arial here, and I'm actually going to change this to Lobster. All right, so say that you've written this big old document, and some is an Arial, and some is a New Times Roman, and some blah, blah, blah. You can literally click this button right here, which is a paint button, and click here. And I did it backwards, but so if you highlight it, now look what I'm doing here. All right, let's just stop. Pause. All right, say that you want them all to be in Arial. So highlight, click one time, and it turns it into, I don't know why it didn't. Now, if you double click this, it will turn them all into the headers. You have to highlight the whole thing. I didn't highlight the whole thing. There we go. So it single click will do one word. Double click will do your entire paper and never stop until you unclick it here, and it keeps it. So if you've taken something from another document, and all of a sudden you've got all kinds of fonts everywhere, and yeah, you can highlight the whole thing, but you don't want to highlight the whole thing because you have different formatting. You have some center justified, you have some some font sizes that are different. You can use the paint icon to help you kind of work with it a little bit so it's not a big old mess. Okay, the next thing I'm going to show you is I have this document that I have right here, and I want it to stand out. This is actually somebody that I'm writing a book on. I'm writing a book on the movers and shakers of this county. But anyway, you can highlight this whole thing here, and you can go to Format, And I'm going to show you something really, really cool. Paragraph styles, borders and shading. And if you want a border around this whole thing, you click all 4 of them. So you're doing, all 4. And then you can change the width. Let's change it to a 3. And we're going to change it to a dash. And we're going to change the border color to blue, dark blue. And the background color, I'm going to change it to yellow, and how ugly this is going to be. And then we're going to push apply, and look at that. How cool is that? That kind of makes that stand out. So obviously, if you're printing a book, you probably don't want to do a whole lot of this because printing in color is a lot more expensive. But if you're doing an ebook or you're doing something that you're not going to print, this is a kind of a cool way to make your document stand out in a way that, and I really like this. I don't really do a whole lot of ebooks, but if I did, I would do it that way. Now, what happens if you decide that you want some special characters? You can insert characters. It's under symbols. So you go to Insert, Symbols, and Special Characters, and you have a whole slew of special characters here that you can kind of move around and kind of look at and see if there's anything here that you want. And if you hover over it, it'll kind of make it bigger, and I really like that, sort of, kind of. So if I click it, it's going to put it here. All right, really, really small. But these are special characters that you can use. And I'll hit the insert here, and under symbols, you can do emojis too if you want. There's just some emojis, and you can also do equations if you're doing math stuff. Here's your equations, of several equations here that you can work with. But this is just if you want it. Oh, how about the squiggly line? Look at that. All right. And so just some things that you can do to kind of make your presentation go up, right? Okay. And of course, the last thing that I want to show you here kind of went away. You could put in equations, and you click down, and it'll give you a lot of equations that are, even beyond some of the things that I teach. But here we got a division sign. If you don't want to use the slash or the /, I guess, you can do the multiplication sign. You can put these in here. You've got let's see what else we got here. Oh, yeah, less than or equal to. Oh, there we go. The one that's the most important when you're teaching algebra. And then you can actually put numbers in here. Look at that. And of course, you also have your arrows again. So if you want to do an equation, you can do it that way. So I've taught you a lot of things here. So why don't you go ahead? Everything that we talked about is an insert, symbols, and format, paragraph styles, and borders, and shading. So pause the video and give that a try. All right. So we've done a few things with our writing. We don't have to go into a lot of detail about how to write a paper. Hopefully you can figure that out. But we're going to kind of play around now. So I'm going to move down to page 2. And we're going to work with images just a little bit. And you get on the ground floor of some of the work that I'm doing with one of my many books. I think I'm on the process of writing 10 books right now. But what we're going to do is we're going to add images to our paper. So we're going to go up to Insert Image, and we're going to upload one. I'm actually going to let you in on a couple of things that I'm doing here. We're going to take this screenshot of this individual. I hate left justified pictures. I want them in the center so they just kind of, they're just right there. This next part is something that you just kind of have to work with and see what works best for you. And it really depends on what you want. Down here at the bottom, you'll see these 5 little icons and this 3 dots here. Right now, your picture is just there. And if you start typing, it's just going to move it down and so on and so forth, right? You can also make it do a couple other things. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some text here at the bottom. This is not him. He was not born in Overton County and died in Fresno. But what I want to show you is you can actually, and again, it depends on what you want to do. We're going to start at the end, and if you'll notice, the black square is in front of the horizontal lines. That's because your picture is going to be in front of the text. Why you would do this? I'm sure there's reasons. I don't know. You can also put the text in front of the picture, which wouldn't be a good idea there, but maybe if you moved it here, now see, it's just all janked up. There are different reasons to do that, though. You can also go back to where it's now. See what happens. Now you got to redo the whole thing and kind of make it go back down to where it was. There we go. You can make it to the sides. Now that's kind of cool. As long as you can strategically, it's like having columns, which we'll talk about later. It's like having columns on your paper, and you have to figure out exactly to how you want it. So, but you can if you want. And of course, I didn't really say what this is. This is called inline. The one we're on now is called wrap text. We can also break the text, and it puts it back down at the bottom. And of course, we can have behind or in front of the text. These are just different things that you can do. Most of them, you see, now it's all messed up and I'm not happy. And it takes me a long time to edit my books because I need it to look really, really nice. Now, that's just one of the things that you can do. The other thing that you can do is, of course, positioning it, which I've already told you. You can move it to the right if you want. Of course, it goes back to the left if you do newspaper style because it's going to wrap it particularly that way. Now, if you want to do something to kind of help with ADA compliance, if you right-click and go to Alt Text, alternative text, or alternate text, I guess, and you can describe the image and say, this is a picture of Uncle Bill Reagan of, this guy was probably Fentress County, Tennessee, instead of, because most of the Reagans were in Fentress County. And you can also give the image a title. And I'm not going to retype it because I'll probably not type it right the second time, and say Uncle Bill Reagan. And these are there. They're going to be there now as an alt text on your paper. You can also make some adjustments as far as your brightness, and I really don't mess with these too much, especially in Google Docs. If I want to enhance it, I'll use another program. You can change and recolor. We got our text wrapping again, which we can do here. And of course, you can also rotate it if you want. And sometimes I have to do this if I'm looking at microfilm that's been digitized. So you can do that too. You can change the angle. Sometimes I will do this. It's really cool. If you grab the top here and move it, I do this a lot for my covers. Make my covers like if I'm doing a newspaper book, I can stack newspaper articles on top of each other. So that's kind of cool too, where you can do that. So there's lots of things that you can do. Right click, alt text. So why don't you give that a try? Also go into your insert image and download a picture, get one on your screen, kind of play with it, manipulate it, and see what you can do. All right, a little bit of confession here. This next part, I don't use a lot. You really do not use the drawing tool or the drawing app hardly at all. Occasionally I do if I want something really fancy. But I'll show you how to use it. So if you go to Insert and go down to Drawing, I lost my track of thought there for a minute, and go to New, you could pull up your drawing. And that kind of, you can bring in a drawing that you've already done, but here you're going to kind of do your own drawing here, and you're going to get a text box if you want, and you can type in, this is a text, and then do whatever you want with it. You can also add an image, which is very, very cool, and you can manipulate the image. You could use Google Images. You could go to your Google Drive. You can do it by your, by a link. You can do a webcam, which we're not going to do. But if you go into Google Images, you will search the Google Images for a dog, and then you will pop a dog in, and then you got a dog. But what I want to show you, if you go to Actions and go to Word Art, this is about the cool part of it, okay? And I just messed it all up. I keep thinking that I'm in something else. All right, so let's say this is a dog, right? And there, look at that. Isn't that cool? And great thing about it is you can change and go to Pacifico, change it to whatever you want. You can change it to, change the color to that. And you can do all kinds of things with it. You can draw, shapes and all kinds of things. You can make sure your paint format or it's going to continuously do this type of font and this type of color. But then when you're finished and you're done everything that you want to do, and of course, you know me, you can drag this over. Now notice the red line that tells you are in the center, being left to right. All right. And I go up and there we go. That is the center of the entire document. Now you'll have to kind of move this around a little bit. It doesn't give you here. Let's go center. This is what's really cool if you don't want to use your little ruler up there at the top. So I don't really like this. In fact, I do. I'm going to make this smaller and then I'm going to there we go. And then save and close, and it shows up in your doc, which is really, really cool. All right. Now, say that you have decided that you're finished and you just want to go ahead and start the process. You can go up here and go to spelling and grammar and spell check it. Well, we have nothing. We're good. But what if we misspelled something? Right? It's going to turn red. You can right click it. It's going to say, did you mean Tennessee? And you can click on it and Tennessee works for you. And it'll automatically do that. So if you have a 500-page document, you'll want to proof it. You'll want to go into spell check and spell check. I'm going to caution you right here. Everybody, we're going to stop for a minute. I want you to go into drawings. I want you to pause the video. I want you to go into insert. And I want you to go to drawing and new, and I want you to try that. And when we get back, I'm going to warn you of a few things that I've run into in the past. All right, I'm going to show you how to do this, and this is really, really bad. Be really, really, really careful. If you're inside of your document, you can do find and replace. Find is cool. Say that you accidentally capitalized the second letter of a name and you did this, right? And you want to fix it. Well, that's cool. You fix it like that. Well, not like that, but like that. Be really, really, really careful if you have a 400 or 500 page document that if you want that to be that, and there's some weird abbreviation that isn't Tennessee, but it's something else. Now you've just replaced all of your capital T's, capital N's with Tennessee. And now you have to go back into your document, which I've done 1,000 times because I keep, doing it, that you will end up going, oh no, I've done this. And for some strange reason, I messed up one day when I was using spell checker and replaced all the Tennessees with BE. And of course, it just made a mess. So just be really careful of that. That is course Control H inside the document. If you're not inside the document, you're going to go into a history of your websites. So pause it, give that a try, and I'm going to show you one more thing. The only other thing that I'm going to show you here is how we translate a document. You're going to go to Tools and Translate, and you can translate it to whatever language that you want. And we're going to change it to Arabic and translate, and give it a second here, and voila! It is now in a different language. How cool is that? If you want to, somebody actually asked me to translate something into their language. And I went and I said, I won't do the word art. I sit there and said, I have absolutely no idea how to do this, but, because of what they wanted. But, it works. And now I can't translate it back. I guess I'll have to go into Tools, and because I translate things. And I'll have to scroll down and translate it back into English and translate, and voila, it says exam 1 instead of test 1. How cool is that? All right, so when you translate, be very careful. Well, why don't you go ahead and try? Don't do it to something that you want to keep. I hope you're enjoying our beginner's quick peek at Google docs. Notice that it did all kinds of crazy things for our last presentations. It says he died on. It's really wild because that's not what the original looked like as far as I remember. But what we're going to do now is we're going to kind of wrap this all up in a couple more videos here. And the first thing we're going to talk about is how do you finalize? Now we've got our document. It's all done. It's ready to go. And now we want to change it because we're going to print this, but we're not going to print it as an 8.5 by 11. If we go to file and we go to page setup, there's all kinds of things that we can do. Notice this is selected content. You can change different parts of the content. Now, be really careful about this because sometimes it doesn't work the way it's supposed to. But we're going to change this to whole document and we're going to change it to landscape. So when we do that, it changes it to landscape. Now, you really can't tell, but when we generate a preview, you can tell that it's in landscape mode versus portrait mode. And that, kind of makes it a little bit easier because it says 6 pages. Now, if we change this whole thing back to portrait, oops, I hit the wrong button. Sorry. If we change this back to portrait, you're not going to have 6 pages. You're going to have 8. And notice it again, see what I mean? It didn't change the first page. It only changed 1 page because I forgot to select whole document. So let's go back in and let's go whole document, portrait, bammo. And now when we go back into print preview, we're at 6 pages. So just kind of be real careful about that. And we've got all kinds of wild things going on with our document here. So let's kind of bring this back up. It's going to let me. We got all kinds of wild things going on. See what I tell you, when it comes to certain things, you're going to get all kinds of weird stuff happening when you're kind of tinkering with your document a little bit. I think our picture disappeared. No, he's way down there. So let's go ahead and cut him and move him up here. There. Now he's at the first. All right. You can do all kinds of things. I cut, copy, and pasted. I know you couldn't see that, but that's all I did. I just right-clicked, cut, and pasted it back into another page. All right, let's go back into the page setup. Again, you can make it pageless, and I don't mess with that too much, but you can also do sections if you've decided to do your page breaks and so on and so forth. Now, one thing that I remember, this is your page size. All right, you've got your 8.5 by 11 and your page color, which will not let us change here. Let's go to whole document. I bet you it will. Yep, whole document. You can change it if you want to do like a little, what do they call it? A coffee table book. So you want to make it really small, and I want to make it really small just to show you all what it does. What it'll do is it'll yeah, I gotta do something Uncle Bill here. He's not my uncle, but and then it just changes how it's going to look, and then you have to adjust it. Anytime you change the orientation you're going to get weird stuff happen, and you have to go back into your document. I would suggest doing it ahead of time instead of at the when you've already been writing stuff, because you're going to get a mess is what you're going to get. And trust me, I've written enough books to know you will get a mess. The next thing that you can do, of course, is you can change the color of your background. You can change your paper to blue or what color you want. All right. And then the one thing that I want to tell you is about the margins. If you're going to put this into a book, if you're going to bind it, and there's places out there that'll bind it for you, try not to mess too much with the left and right, because you'll open the book and the spine and you won't be able to read everything. You can mess with this. Whoops. You can mess with the top and bottom margins. Now, if you've got some endnotes or some footnotes, you probably don't want to. But what it does is it really makes your heading and your bottom, it gives you more room to write. So be really careful when you're doing that as far as your orientations are concerned. And then one more thing I'm going to show you before, why don't you go ahead and try that though? Why don't you pause and just kind of go into file, go into page setup, and just kind of manipulate and see what you can do with it. Please do not do it to a document that you love, or it's going to mess it up. All right, next thing I'm going to show you is tools. And down here to accessibility, you could turn on screen reader You can turn on Braille support. You can turn in collaboration announcements. You can turn on your screen magnifier support. Just do it and then take it off and kind of test it and see how it's going to look for you and how it's going to work for you, because otherwise you'll end up with things that you don't want, and then you'll have to go back in and you'll have to take them off. So just be really careful when you're doing these things. Kind of test it, and maybe you should test it with a document that you've made a copy of. For those of you that forget how to make copies, you're going to go to File, Make a Copy. And then you're going to make a copy of it and then kind of make it your sandbox versus doing it to the paper that you love and hold dear to your heart. All right. Well, the first thing I'm going to do before we get into this next part is I'm going to change the color back to white because it's driving me crazy. Whole document, you can only do so much with certain sections. So, okay. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you a little bit about the headers and the footers. So if you click up here, you got your header. Now your header right now is going to be there. And you know how I hate that. I have to have everything centered. It says different from the first page. So you can actually now you can't have a different header on each page. You just can't. But you can have a different on the first page. You can also put in page numbers. You can also remove the header, but I wouldn't suggest that. So where do you want it? You want the whole document to be page. You want it in the header. You can put it in the footer. I want to put it in the footer. Do you want to show it on the first page, or is the first page not part of that? So do you want to start with number 1? Do you want to start with something else? Do you want to continue from a previous section? You can do all of those things. And if you'll notice down here in my footer, I now have, voila, I have a page number. And if we go to the next one, we have page 2. And the next one, we have page 3. You can also do that up into here. There you go. Page numbers under format. You can put your page numbers in that way. Notice it looks exactly the same. So that's for page numbers. Now in your footers, of course, we all know because we went to school and it was drilled into our heads that footers could be for footnotes, not footmarks. Footnotes for if you're citing something in either APA or MLA or Chicago or whatever you want to do. You can put them there at the bottom into your footer section. All right, we're done. We've done everything that we're going to do. So what are we going to do next? We're going to print this bad boy. You could print it by pushing print. Now, right now, I have it saved as a PDF, and I do have a printer not hooked up to this particular computer. I print from another computer, but you can print it from here if you want. And I go into here when I saved a PDF. Now, your other option is to go to File and go to Download and do it as a PDF. The difference is with this PDF, if you go to Download PDF, it's automatically give it a name. Okay, I may want to give it my own name. So if I want to give it my own name, then I'm going to go in through the print function because it's then going to ask me what I want to call it. So if you want to name it before you PDF it, then you're going to do that. If you don't care, then you can. I hate where Bill is right now. You can go over here and go to download. You can also download it as a Word document or any of these other options. You can do it as a web page if you're creating a web page from a doc and then putting it on your particular web page. You can also do that. And of course, you're going to export it as a different format with Microsoft Word, with rich text, with your open document, which is some of those early free Word document programs that we all used to use until Google became so popular. All right. So you can do all of those things. Obviously, sharing is over here. You can share it. Remember, you can share it. It's right now restricted, only people with a link. You could change that to anybody with a link. You could change it to only people that have your ending of your email address, like mine's @woda1.com. You know, only the people that have that. You can also copy the link and so on and so forth. Once we put it in there, you can change and make them a viewer only. You can add an expiration, which is kind of new. So you only want them to have it for until February 11th at 11:59 if you want. You can do that, and you can share that with them. When we get into the advanced, we'll talk about approvals and all of those things. So once again, right here's approvals. You can download it from here. You can download it as a PDF, but watch what happens when I do it. I'll just go ahead and do it. Well, let me tell you, it's because I'm in incognito. I do this a million times, and if I were not in incognito, it would go right to my hard drive under downloads. So yeah, so you got that. All right, so print. You could print it as a PDF. You could print the document if you want, if you have a printer, and so on and so forth. So why don't you go ahead and pause it and give that a try? All right, we are at the end of Google Docs Beginner. So what have we covered in this particular training? How to use the text, how to write a book, how to enter, how to format, how to edit the text, how to put in pictures or graphics that make it look great, how to view it, obviously proofreading, which is very, very important. And I'm going to tell you right now, even though this is new and this is a conclusion, you let somebody else proofread your stuff, because it's hard to proofread your content yourself. And there's always going to be mistakes that you'll never find. Sorry, that's an added little note there. And of course, how to publish it, how to print it, how to send it, how to share it, how to do all of these things. So I really hope that you enjoyed this Google Docs Beginner, and I hope to see you all in Google Docs Expert, which is coming up. So take care, give it a shot, keep going back to the videos, keep testing them out, keep trying it, and produce your award-winning novel. Welcome, everybody, to another exciting training session by yours truly, Sean Gray, with Learn Daily. We are going to start today with Google Docs Advanced. So hopefully you got a lot out of the beginner training session, and now we're going to move on to the advanced. So what exactly is Google Docs? Just as a reminder, it's a way to write. It's a place to put down your thoughts and feelings, to write your masterpiece. Lots of things that you can do with Google, and we covered all the basic stuff to actually get your paper going, but now in this advanced, we're going to enhance it and beautify it. So if you want to write a book with a lot of graphics and a lot of pictures and so on and so forth and charts and all that thing, we're going to show you exactly how to do that. So what are we going to cover today? We're going to talk about working with styles. Don't know what styles are? Stick with us here. How to make lists and tables and how to use them and how to manipulate them. How to make a chart. How to automatically make a chart from a spreadsheet. How to work with breaks and columns. How to add footnotes and table of contents, which is really, really cool. I think we may touch into an index also, because that's important if you're writing a book. How to translate it into different languages and how to use your voice. We're also going to talk a little bit about how to use the extra features, and also how to use add-ons. Add-ons, the free ones, even the ones that aren't free, are pretty reasonable. It's really exciting to get some add-ons, because what it does is add-ons makes your life easier. It makes things so much easier when you're writing a paper or writing the next greatest novel that you're considering writing. So strap in, get ready to pause the video and do some hands-on learning, and away we go. All right, we're going to do some stuff with styles, and styles are cool. I love them as long as they're used the right way. Now we're going to start a brand new document, and I figured, a little bit of rehashing some things in case you forgot. New Google Docs, we're just going to go bam straight into our document. Now, we're going to make this a title, and then we're going to make this heading, and then this is our text that, and of course, I'm never typing right ever in my entire life, that we are going to leave alone and continue to use it as normal text. I didn't copy and paste. I thought about it, but I decided not to. Now, we can use it. No. So we have over here, we have this tab, and we're going to kind of show you how to use the outline. But the first thing we're going to do is I want this to be bam. Instead of being normal text, I'm going to change it to title. And notice that it's big. Now, I decide that I want my title to look different. I want it to be bold. I want it to be that. And I want to change it to impact, which is kind of ugly with the bold on it. So I'm going to make it a little bit, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to go over title and update title to match. Now, that's very important. So this is going to be heading 1. And I'm going to do the same thing here. Now, notice over here, we have our nice little thing. And I'm going to show you exactly what a finished product's going to look like. But we're going to go ahead and go up here. And we're going to say heading 1. And I don't like what that looks like. So I'm going to change it before I do it. And I'm going to make this a 14, a 15. And I'm going to change this to Meriwether. I just picked it. Now we got a header. And we're going to go up. We're going to say heading 1, update heading 1 to match. And this I'm kind of okay with. I would kind of like a 12, I think, for Arial. And we're going to use Times New Roman. And the reason is because by default, it's Arial. So we're going to use Times New Roman. And we're going to say normal text, update it to match. Now, why did I do all of that? I did all of that for the certain reason. Now I want to show you something. As we go back down to here, you can go up here too, and you can do all of this. And we've already, okay, so we're going to apply title if we want. And notice it changed. And watch this. Whoops, title 2. And we can go up here. And so what it does is it automatically goes, oh, we have a certain type of font and style and all of that. So heading, apply, bam, and it made it bigger. And this is going to be heading 2. Now watch. Remember, if we start typing, it's going to automatically type in New Times Roman because that's the way we have it defaulted at. But what if we change this back to Arial? And changed it back to 10. But we want to go in here, paragraph style, normal, and apply. Yep, it didn't do it. I messed it up. That's okay. Let's do this first. Let's change it first. Normal. Apply. Oops. Why did it not do it this time? There we go. Sorry. Hello, now we're in Times New Roman 12. Now look what we've got over here. We have our title, we have our heading, we have all these cool little things. So, in the beginning, here in a minute, I'm going to show you when I get it to boot it up, I'm going to show you how great it is when you get it to actually do, when you have a 500-page paper and you want to go to a particular section. I'm going to pull up one of my books and I'm going to show you exactly how that works over here in your outline, which is really, really cool. So in order to change these, in order to default, you're going to highlight it. You're going to go to title, update title to match what you already have. So, and then, of course, you're going to do, and you can do subtitles. You can do options here. You can save my default styles right here, and it will save them, and they're automatically going to be defaulted. Now, you can change them all you want. Say that you decide that you want this to be something other than Impact. You want it to be a comic, Comic Sans. You can change it to that, and then you just go back in and update it. And look at what happened up here. It did the same thing. It'll change all of your titles. So go ahead and pause it, give it a shot, see what you think. All right, as promised, I now have my document up, and this is a 375-page book that I wrote. So I don't want to scroll through this entire book, right? I can scroll if I want. There's a table of contents, so on and so forth. I don't want to do that. If I click right here, I can open up. Now, I didn't do this. This book was written many years ago. But if I want to go to the second generation, I can just click and it's going to take me directly to the second generation. This is very cool when it comes to different types of document outline. I could go to the third generation and bam, it takes me directly, and it's not formatted right, but the book's already been published and I fixed it, so that's not that big of a deal. If I want to go to this guy right here, I can go straight to here. Again, it's formatted differently because a lot of times, this is what I was telling you before. This came from a Word document, and when I transferred it to Google, we've got some formatting issues. So this is kind of the proof that I was telling you back in basic in the beginner class, that sometimes when you go from Word to Google or Google to Word or whatever the case is, you're going to get some issues when it comes to formatting. And this is the perfect case. There's a lot of formatting issues I'm looking at right now going, but luckily, this was an old copy, little version of it. Now, let's go back into our document, and I'm going to show you some things that are pretty cool. The first thing that I'm going to, since we're talking about tabs, I'm going to just continue. Say that you have a document, and you have a particular format that you want to use that goes beyond the titles and the headings and so on and so forth. You can create a second tab. And notice that the paper went directly, this is like a new paper. But what it does is use this format. You can put that in there, and no matter where you go on your paper, you can click back to here, you can copy this, you can go back to your first one, and it's there. It just makes it easier than to have to search through all of your clipboard stuff. You can just have it right there on your tab, and you can create as many of these as you want. And of course, you can delete them, you can duplicate them, you can copy the link out of it, you can show an outline, you can delete it, you can do several things with these tabs, but they're very, very good if you're writing a very kind of a longer paper where you need to like go back and forth a little bit, and you can't really rely on the titles as far as the formatting is concerned. You can always do it with tabs, or maybe you have a second tab for another reason. Maybe you have some sourcing there, that some document that you copy and pasted into tab 2, and you want to use it just to refer back and forth, and you don't want to kind of flip with your alt tab all the time. As long as you have this up, you can go to any of your tabs that you want, which is a really, really cool feature. All right, so now we are going to talk just for a few minutes about bulleted lists. I love them. I use them all the time. And they are located right here. There are 4 of them, or 3 of them, I'm sorry. The first one is a checklist. And bam, I love checklists. I love having little boxes that I can go, yeah, I got a check mark in it and it's done. Now you can always, strike through. That's an option. But with checklists, it just makes it easier. And you can pick what kind you want. Ones you can strike through are ones that it just gives you the plus sign. Because if I had a word here, okay, show me the checklist. If I click it, it goes through. But if I change over here to this other kind and go BAMO, it doesn't strike through. So it will do both of those for you, which is really, really cool. And you can do as many, you can do as many as you want. Now notice what I did. When I click again, it takes away the bullet, the box. You have to like type something in there, even if it's just that, and you just want to get like an idea of what you're doing before you put all your words in. And then you can go back and say, show me the second checklist, and then so on and so forth. So that kind of gives you an idea. I personally like where you can strike through. It makes it, it shows me that it is completely done for that particular thing. So why don't you pause? Why don't you kind of create a couple of tabs over here by pushing the plus sign, remove them, add them, do, some things with them, duplicate them, rename them if you want. You can rename your tabs if you have 12 of them. You can even pick an emoji if you want. Pick a smiley emoji. So you can do several things with this. So give that a shot. And then when you're finished, go ahead and try to create where only you did the first one. We'll hit the next two after you're done trying it out. But go ahead and create a little list there with some check marks and see how you like it. Go ahead and pause the video. All right. Hope you were successful in creating some checklists. We're going to move on to the next type of kind of a checklist, bulleted list, if you will. This second one right here, if you just click it, you get a wonderful circle bullet. Did I spell circle wrong? Of course I did. All right, so what if we want to change it? You see the little down arrow? Change it, and voila, it changes it to 4 diamonds shaped as a square. We can also change it to back to that again. I don't know why it's in both of them. And also do arrows. I kind of like arrows. Being a math teacher, you can also do stars, and you can also do like an arrowhead. So if you do this, and you can continue to tab, and what I'm doing, because you can't see me doing it, is I'm tabbing. And you can tab over for a particular time. And then if you do this, and keep pushing enter, it's going to bring it all the way back and pushed enter. And then you can go, well, wait a minute, I want to indent circle bullet. Now I want another circle. Whoops, circle. Okay, so that kind of gives you an idea of how to do that. If you don't need to check mark and mark it off, if you want one of those. Now, if you scroll down here and you decide that you want something else, like I told you, I like the arrows. Notice that it's an arrow. It's not an arrowhead. It's an arrow. And it's an arrow. And then you click in, and now you have it's a square. It's a diamond. They call it a rhombus for those of you non-math people. I know some of you are going to say, I didn't know we were learning math in this, but this is considered a rhombus. And I could even spell that. Look at that. And then you have a circle. And then you have, see, I can't spell circle. I can spell rhombus, but I can't spell circle. All right, now you have a open circle, and then we're back to rhombuses again. So it takes you all the way back. All right, lastly, we have numbers, which are very, very cool. This is number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. You can continue to do it. Sometimes you can create your own numbers. Let's see if I can recreate it here. And if you push 1 and then the period and push the space bar, you can create your own lists. Okay. All right, so you can click the down arrow. You can change it. You can change your list to have a little doohickey there. You can also go 1 and 1.1, 1.2, and then so on and so forth. You could do a variety of different things. And then, of course, if you want to change it to Roman numerals, so you could have like a real outline like you were taught in school, probably many years ago for some of you. You can also do one where it says 01. The sky's the limit. You can make it out to be anything that you want. And of course, if you say 01 here, and then you'll get a little A, and then you'll get a little I, and then you'll get a number 1 again, and then you get an A. So it's just going to continue to do that. So there are several different things that you can do as far as your bullets. You can have circles, you can have diamonds, you can have squares, you can have arrows, you can have stars, you can have arrowheads. We really didn't do much with the stars. Let's go ahead and do a star real quick. I didn't really show that to you. It's not really very fancy dancy because it goes back to an open circle now. And then you go back to a square. But if you like stars, you can do it like that. Okay, so we've got check marks, which we did a few minutes ago, check marks with a strike through, without a strike through. Then we also have numbers where you can actually have an outline, a professional outline, or an educational outline, I guess, for those of you that want to do that. And then, of course, you could also do your different types of shapes that you could get with your bullets. And down here, they always default back here to the check mark, the checklist, which is really, really cool. I use checklists all the time to do the to give myself lists and then mark through, and it gives me a sense of accomplishment that it actually worked, that I actually got it done. So why don't you go ahead and pause the video? All right, we're going to switch gears here a little bit. We're going to talk about tables. And tables are very cool. If you have data already, you may want to insert. Here, let's give this a title. There we go. You may want to insert like a link or insert a chart, insert a sheet. You can insert a sheet and it's going to give you everything that you've already. There's no sense recreating the wheel. So if you already have your data, insert it from Google Sheets, and I will show you how to do that. But first, we're going to go into inserting tables. You go to Insert, Table. Now, this is the hard part. You got to know off the top of your head how many you need. Now, you can add and subtract, and I'm going to show you that. But off the top, let's just say you need a 7x5. It's going to give you a 7x5. Now, you may not know. You'll have to kind of manipulate it a little bit. So say you want the entire page to be full. Well, you can figure out exactly how many that would be, or you can just do your a 7x5 and then add to it later, because right now that's like yuck. So in order to we've created it now, and now we got to put data in there. Now I'm just going to kind of put cost, miles, and I'm just making things up as we go along, amount, and of course none of these make any sense. Now that's all I need, so I really don't need these two. So I'm going to right click. Now watch this. Right click, and I can delete the column if I want. Oh, now we're down to 2 or 1. Delete another column. Bam-o. So I can do that. Now, I want all this to be pretty, so I'm going to hover over. Oh, I went too far, and it does that. So you got to be real careful, because as soon as you get to the last letter of the title, it will automatically move to the end of your cell, and then you can just cursor over with your cursor keys. Now I want this to be bold, I want it to be underlined, and I want it to be center justified. I also want it to be prettified. So how am I going to prettify it? I'm going to right click, and I'm going to go to Table Properties. Table Options, they've changed it. It's now called Table Options. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the color of the border, and I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. I'm going to make it a 2.5. Ooh, look at that around our border. How pretty is that? But I'm going to change it to blue. So I've changed it to blue. All right. Now our table itself, we can do the indenting and all of that good stuff, but we're not going to really do that right now. There are several things that you can do within your table. All right. So now we have our, we're going to put our numbers in 1, and I'm just putting in just stuff that makes no sense, but it doesn't matter. Okay, and then we can just keep going, 8. Now, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I want it to be center. So you're going to click here, and you're going to go down and then across, and go up here and say, I want it all to be centered. Okay. All right. Now I want this stuff down here. I'm just going to drag it with my mouse, I want it to not be bold, but I want it to be a different color. I'm going to change it to red, and I'm going to bold it then. Now it's red, and I'm going to make it a little bit bigger so you can see. Now you can do all of that within the table. Now notice that I've created this table from scratch. Well, that's probably not the best idea, but if you have to create a table from scratch for some reason, then you're just going to do it that way. Now, say that I don't want this 8 here for some reason. I can delete the row, which is going to delete this entire bottom row here. Bam, it is gone. Okay, so I'm going to have you pause. I'm going to have you kind of do this yourself. Remember, you're going to insert table and then just make up how many you want and just kind of tinker with it. And when we get back, we're going to beautify our table. Okay, now first off, we're going to beautify our table. And what you're going to do is you're going to beautify the header. So we're going to go here. And then we'll get rid of this so we can start from scratch. You're going to go to table options and you're going to go to cell color background. And we're going to make this just kind of light. See how nice that is? We're going to leave the rest the way they are, but you can change them. You can change each individual cell if you want. You want to change this to a particular color, you can, and the rest of them are that. Now, say that you had a lot of words in this one. Say this is called, this is the way to use tables. Oh, yuck, yuck, yuck. That is ugly. And say that you just have numbers in here. Well, you can take your column. Notice when we move my mouse over the vertical blue, and I can do this. Oh, that's ugly. Well, I can make this a little bit bigger, and then I can make this a little bit smaller. I'm just using my mouse, and I'm just moving things around a little bit just to kind of make it look pretty and see if I can move this anymore. Oh, yeah. But then I don't like doing this, to be perfectly honest. Y'all know that I have opinions about things, and this is one of them. I would just much rather use a Google sheet, because I'm now spending a whole lot of time making this look pretty. And every time I change it, it's going to look really bad. But we could make it look, take it over here and then, of course, adjust these a little bit more. You can beautify it up if you want. Whoops, I don't like that. I hate one word being on two. Now, we can take this and we can make it smaller, of course, in there. And that's going to do kind of what we want it to do a little bit. So that kind of helps a little bit. Now, that's just kind of how you can adjust the rows. You can adjust the columns. We're going to make this a little bit more here because we want to make this, see, in case you had a lot of wording here. We can also make it smaller for lack of time. Again, miles is, I don't like that. There we go. We see how you have to, it's kind of annoying. So say, this is a really cool little feature here. Say that you want to, for whatever reason, you want to make this particular cell and make it 2 cells. All right. Well, you put your mouse and you click and you have your cursor going in the cell and you right click and you go down to split cell. You can't merge them yet because you don't have one. You can split it. How many columns you want? 2. Wow, look at that. And you can type something in here. And of course, we've all messed everything up when this whole thing, make this a 12. There we go. But it's still bad, so let's make this smaller, make this bigger. I hate doing this stuff. Make this bigger here and whatever, but you can do that. Now say you don't like it, you're like, what have I done? Hover it, right click and merge. Now you got this word new in here that you need to really take out because you're just dealing with numbers here. Okay, so you can split cells for whatever reasons. Say that you want, I got an idea. Say you want to split the cell, split it into 2. And for whatever reason, in this second cell, you're going to insert where are we at here? Da 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 da. Here, we'll do it over here. We'll make it easy. We're going to insert, dying over here, people. Here we go. Checklist. Why didn't it do it? Hang on a minute. Let me make this bigger. So I know this should work. There we go. There it is. And you can put a check mark in there. Say that you want to split the particular. Now, you say you want to split a bunch of them. And so you don't have to do this every time. And you're going to do that. And then you can right click and you can split. They're going to make you merge. You can split it and so on and so forth. Can you split this way? There it is. So you just have to split each one. But you can do that if you want. It's entirely up to you if that's what you want to do. Get away from tables. I don't like them. I don't like to use them, but some people do, so it's okay. But now we're going to talk about charts. And charts are a cool thing to put inside of a document if you want. And it's really easy how to do charts. But the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to go to Insert, Chart. And you're going to have a choice between a bar chart, a column chart, a line chart, a pie chart, or we can pull one from Sheets. And we'll do that in a minute. I'm going to show you two different ways to pull it from Sheets. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do a bar chart. And voila, you have a bar chart. Guess what? Your bar chart has all kinds of data on it, and you may not know what any of that means. And it says it's linked to something. So we... you just have it's just there. You have a chart, like if you're wanting to do an example of something and so on and so forth. You can also go up here and do Insert Chart and do a pie chart, which are really pretty. Pie charts are really pretty. And there you go. It is linked to something. If you unlink it, it doesn't do anything, right? You can right click and here's where you're going to play. Okay, you have your formatting options. You can match all text or whatever. You can change the page to landscape. It's not going to let you do a whole lot when it comes to charts because it's just there. It's like an image. So an image you can't really deal with because when you double click, it's an image because when you double click it, you have these. And what that's going to do, I'll show you. Yeah, now we have some weird looking thing here. So it's just kind of placeholders for charts if you want to put a chart in there and then later you're going to link one. Now, let me show you how to link one. I went into Financial Sample, and what I did was I right-clicked. Oh, I'm sorry. I went up here and copied. I guess you can't right-click. Copy. And then I came over to my document, and I pushed Control V. Ooh, do I want to paste it unlinked or do I want to link it to the spreadsheet? You want to link it to the spreadsheet. And there is the actual chart that is ugly because it's all janked up. And it says it's from Financial Sample. This update means that if you're over here and you're manipulating the data, you got to figure out where the data came from because this has a lot of tabs. You can manipulate the data and then you go back over to your chart or your doc and you click update and then it updates it even though there's not really an update because it's already there. And notice that it's linked. This is not a picture. This is a sheet. Now notice down here, even though it's kind of like an image, but it's not because it can be manipulated. Images cannot be manipulated. You can literally, here, let's grab some words here. We don't have a ton of words. Copy and go down here. And if you put words at the bottom here, now we can go into here and we can go BAMO and then there you go. Or you can put your chart in front. You can put your chart behind, and you can do have a break in the text, or a wrap in the text, or just an inline, which is kind of what you want to do with these kinds of things. So charts are, pretty easy. Again, you can, did we unlink one? I think we did. Yeah, we unlinked this one, so it's not linked to anything anymore. It's an image though, so you can't manipulate it. This one's still linked, but we can click here and we can unlink it if we want, right? And then if we take this one and we click here, it says linked chart options, and we can make that disappear if we want. So you can unlink it if you want, but then all you have is a nice, pretty image that's not really going to do you a whole heck of a lot of good. Okay. I can safely say that I have never linked a chart to anything unless I am just doing a demo of something. I do have a teacher that constantly wants me to help them link their charts into their either into a spreadsheet, their Google Sheets because we're a Google school, or into a document, and teach her how to do it so she could teach the kids. So people do use them. Use them. Make sure you link it so you can manipulate the data so the data can change unless you're just using it as a placeholder. Pause the video and try. Go to Insert. Do both. Do a sample and also try to pull one from a sheet. If you do not have a Google Sheet, then just type in Google Sheet template. And then you can create one. If you're not sure how to create a chart from a Google Sheet, go back to my Google Sheet. I'm not sure if it was advanced or a beginner, and I'll teach you exactly how to do that. We're going to talk about a couple of things here. We're going to talk about page breaks and columns. Notice I have a nice little 4-paragraph. Here, let's just get rid of the word summary. It looks too weird to me. All right, so let's say, for instance, that you, for whatever reason, you want these on all 4 different pages. So you can click here. Notice we have our things from last time here. But if you go to Insert, Break, Page Break, it's going to give you a whole blank page. Now, if you want a blank page for whatever reason, that's how you're going to do it. And, you can always go back and start over. Now, you can also go to Insert, Break, and Section Break, which kind of does the same thing, unless you move your cursor. And we can go here and break and next page, blammo, and notice that this is still here. This is probably something that should go like that. And then down here, and you can do this to every single one. Wrong one. Next page. So now we have that on that page, and that's not indented anymore. And we are literally putting each of these on another page. And those are page breaks, section breaks, the paragraph breaks. They kind of do the same thing. This is probably, let's go here. And then, of course, we can backspace and get them all back to where they need to be. Okay, let's keep going back. There we go. And summary. So that is how you're going to do page breaks. If you want a page break, if you need a blank page for whatever reason, I will tell you that sometimes when you bring information from another source, whether it be Microsoft Word or something on the internet, it's automatically going to give you page breaks and it's going to drive you mad. I've never tried this, but you may be able to backtrack your page break somehow. I can get rid of them most of the time. A lot of times what you do is you just go down and you go bam. And that a lot of times will get rid of the page breaks. And I will tell you, I have had some weird things happen in documents that I've converted over from another source that has just been maddening. And I've had to literally cut, copy, and paste with no any type of just the text in order to get it the way that I want it. Which brings us to the next thing we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about columns. Here we go with part of the book that I've been talking about. And the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to double click and get rid of all of that, because we do not want anything to mess up the columns because they're already going to be messed up. I use columns. You really need to use columns first, but if you want things to line up, you're going to have to really do some investigating and trial and error, maybe in a sandbox. Because if you highlight existing text and you go to format columns, I'm going to tell you right now, a 3 makes it ugly. And there's not enough room for it. Well, I guess we have a 3 here. That's not terrible, except I don't like it because what it's done is it's put some of the things that I've written on 2 or 3 lines. I don't like it. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to format columns and 2. Makes it a little bit prettier. I don't like things being on more than one line. Now this is where it kind of gets funny. I've got everything highlighted, so it's going to do the whole thing. But I can kind of move by left clicking and moving from the ruler, and then pray that it still kind of looks to see. We've got this up here. I don't like that. I guess most of them have that. And then now we have this one that doesn't. So what are you going to do? You're going to do a space, click enter. And now I'm very particular when I write my books, and the columns is something that you can kind of toy with a little bit. And then, of course, you can always go over to File and go to Page Setup, mess with your left and right. Remember, don't mess with it too much if you're going to bind it, because your binder's going to come and say you didn't have enough space. So that's given us a little bit. I kind of like this a little bit better. I'm going to highlight the whole thing, though, and I'm going to see if 3 will give me what I want. Probably not. A little bit. This is columns are really good if you have an index, and you have an index of about 175 pages. You do 3 columns, you can bring it down to less than 100, and that makes it look okay. With what I've done, it just kind of makes it look like a mess. But why don't you pull some data from somewhere, go ahead and try some page breaks to see if you like them, and then go ahead and manipulate some columns. I'm going to do one more thing real quick, show you how bad it looks when you do it over here. 2 columns. See, I don't even know if you can read that or not. It looks like it went from here up to here, and now we've got what's up with all this down here. And just be careful when you're working with columns that you get exactly what you want. My best practice is to create the columns first. Give it a try. All right. Say that you're writing an academic paper and you need footnotes. Footnotes are something that lots of papers need. Now, in the past, you could highlight your data and go to Insert Footnotes, but it's not there anymore. I didn't even look over here. Nope, not over there. I don't know where it went, and I kind of Googled it, and I don't know where it's at, but it's irrelevant because you can do push Control, push the Alt key, and at the same time, push the F key. Make sure it's Control Alt, because if you just do Control F, you're going to get a search. Now, what we've done is we have ourselves a nice, nifty footnote here, and I want you guys to see it big. You can see the 1 there. See if I can make this a little bit bigger. I'll make it a 300. Hopefully that doesn't make it go out and pig crazy. It's not going to let me. Nope, it's going to go to 2. But there's a 1 right there. And then you can go Control V, and there's the family search that has Arthur Robbins in it, which says Arthur, but his name was Arthur. It wasn't Arthur. And you can go straight to that website. In fact, you can go and link it. So if you are not printing your document, if all you're doing is just sending it to somebody, there you go. Now you have a nifty footnote. So you can do this to anything that you need a footnote for. Now, I will let you know that in my book, it automatically has footnotes. So the program that I use a lot of sourcing when you do genealogy. And if you'll notice, I will copy and paste old James here into our practice. And I will, you know why it's that way? Because the columns are still in play from the last time. See what happens? Yeah. Back to 1. There we go. But I want to show you by making this as big as I can make it, 200. There we go. You can see there's a 6 there, there's a 1 there. Those aren't footnotes, but this 7 and this 6 is. This 1 just means that Isaac is the first guy in the book. And of course, this 7, these are all footnotes. And I have taken all of the footnotes out of the book. Yep, there's my index, but I've taken all the footnotes out and made them virtual, made them online, because I don't want to waste when I print this book. I don't want to spend a lot of extra pages on 4 billion pages of footnotes. So I put a link in, they can copy the link, and they can go straight to the footnotes if they want to see them. All right, so that's footnotes. Now, the next thing is kind of cool, and as long as you use the heading, remember, let's give old James a header. Instead of normal text, we're going to make it a heading 3. Makes it a little bit different. I'm going to make it a little bigger so you can see it. And we're going to create a table of contents with what we have. And I'm going to show you something that's really, really kind of cool. So we're going to go in and create, again, this has changed, but you're going to go to Page Elements, Table of Contents, and you get 3 choices. We're going to pick this one because I haven't picked this one yet in my practice. And notice we have, they put the entire thing for the header there. Why? Because I didn't do a carriage return. Now, I want you to see, don't worry about the James Robbins one. Look at heading 1, 2, and 3. Okay? So we're going to get rid of it. I'm going to remove our table of contents, and we're going to scroll all the way up to the top where it says heading 2, and we're going to say book heading. Now watch this. We're going to go all the way back down again to page 6 or whatever page we're on. Okay, we've done all kinds of, we're tabbed. We got to go back to our first tab here. All right, let's just scroll. I'm going to put our table of contents here, even though obviously it goes at the beginning. Insert, page element, table of contents. Bam, and look what it says. It says page heading, book heading. So you could go into, obviously we did that. So it will actually give you the names of each of the heading for your book. So you can actually have a TOC at the beginning, a table of contents, and it will give you the opportunity to, put a little flair into your book if you're writing a book. So Control-Alt-F after you've highlighted your data. Now, you can do it without highlighting your data. Notice nothing's highlighted. Control-Alt-F is still going to give us a footnote down here at the bottom. You can still do that if you don't highlight something, but I would highlight it just, for your sanity. And then you're going to do Insert, Page Element, and then Table of Contents. Now, it's grayed out because I already have a TOC. You don't have one table of contents. So why don't you pause it, give that a try. As we're wrapping things up here, it's time to look at tools and how cool tools are. And we're just going to take some time to kind of go over some of these tools. So let me get rid of that. Whoops, I cannot get rid of that. There we go. All right, so tools. First thing we're going to do is we're going to check our spelling. Oh, Robin says it's spelled wrong because I capitalized the whole thing and I've got that little 6 up there. But we're going to ignore that. Change use it as to use as. Yep, going to ignore that. Still going to ignore that. Proves out his... Nope, I like it. That's it. So we've checked the entire document. Now, when you have a page that's 400 pages, be really careful because I'm going to misspell a word here. I want to show you something that drives me batty. It doesn't look like ignore all and accept all. Be careful because you don't know what you're accepting or ignoring in a 400-page paper, and it's just going to cause you more work. It causes me more work all the time when I do that. Sometimes I do it on purpose because it's going to be less work to fix the ones that are not wrong than to fix, like for the instance, the word Tennessee. I like it spelled out. And sometimes if it's just TN, I'll change all TNs to Tennessee. But what if somebody has the initials TN and their name is Thomas Newton? Now their name is Tennessee. So be really careful with that as when you're doing spell check. We can also do a word count, which is cool for those of you that are in college. We have 9 pages, 700 words, 4,400 characters, and characters including spaces, 3,700. And you can display your word count while you're typing. You can turn that on, and right over here in the bottom corner is our word count. And you can click it, and it'll tell you everything you want to know if you need that, because your professor says write a 5,000 word paper on why you love your professor. All right, what else we got here? We're going to talk just briefly about bookmarks. I don't use bookmarks ever, and you saw one there. So insert bookmark is where you're going to go here, and you got a nifty little bookmark there, and you can copy the link, and let's see what it looks like when we move it. And there it is. There is your to replace with. That's the link to the bookmark that you can get to if you click it and you're somewhere else. Like if we're on page 1 here, I don't think I copied it, did I? Let me do that real quick. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. Let's go back to the beginning. Put it right here. Now it's not linked. So we're going to insert link. And if we click it, see what happens. It'll take us down to James Robbins. So that helps a little bit. I'd put him over here. Oh, by the way, I found under page elements at the bottom is footnote. They moved it. They keep doing things like when you go to a grocery store and the pickles aren't where the pickles used to be and you have to search all over the store because they decided to redo everything. Google does the exact same thing. So be careful with that. Now, the last thing we're going to talk about is hyperlinks. And where's my guy? Here's a hyperlink right here. And you can create a hyperlink anywhere you want. Okay, so we know we have Arthur Robbins here. And we're going to click one of his bros. Click James. And this is James's main page. And we're going to take and Control C, copy, and go back into our document. And we know that James is here. So we're going to highlight all of James. And we're going to click up here to insert link. And we're going to ignore all that stuff because it's not what we want. Right here is what we want, but we've already put the thing in and go to apply. Now James is hyperlinked. And luckily with Google, you click it once and then you don't have to click it twice. Now, what happens if you messed up because you typed something in? Well, you can go into the little pencil here and you can edit it. You can edit the name if you want. Bad man. He's not a bad man. He's my ancestor. But look, now it's... let's get rid of bad man. All right, so you can do all of that. You can go in here and change this if you want. Change it to, I wouldn't really change a link unless you didn't copy the whole thing and you accidentally left off the last part, because then you're not going to take it anywhere. Obviously, this doesn't work for print material. This only works if you're keeping it as a digital document. So go ahead and go into tools, explore a little bit. We didn't do all of these, but that's okay. We got citations, you got line numbers, and so on and so forth. But go ahead and get into that and see how it works for you. All right, say that you want to make your document a different language because you're translating it for someone that doesn't speak your language. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to make a copy because sometimes when you change it to a different language, it doesn't come back exactly 100%. So we're going to go up to Tools. We're going to go to Translate Document. And we're going to change it to German. There we go. And it's going to take a couple of moments. And it's going to change it. Voila. You are now, the entire document is now in German. All right, I don't read German, so I'm assuming it says the same thing. Obviously, we have the names of the people, but of course, the common words or the words that aren't names of people will be different, even though nation became nationette. So there's some things that didn't really come through very well, but that is our copy. So we're not going to deal with that. We'll go right back to our original. Now, this next thing I've never used personally. I know all about it, but I've never really used it. And this is called voice typing. Okay. So we're going to voice type for just a minute under tools and voice type. And then you have to push the click to speak. And the first time you do this, it's going to say, can I use your microphone? And then, of course, you say yes. We're going to click it. And then we're going to start talking. And it's going to start typing. How cool is that? But that's not the best part. Period. New line. See it? It started to say new line. Very, very cool. New paragraph. Oh, we're having trouble hearing you. It's hearing me just fine. I don't know why it said it's having trouble hearing me, but I've kind of turned it off for a minute. Now watch this. Select all, please. Now you know you can do it. Select all for me. Select all. There you go. So evidently you might need some sort of microphone with you, but how cool is voice typing and voice commands? Now, the last thing that we're going to kind of go over in this little section is where'd our document go? Backwards. Oh, I bet you I know what happened. I bet you it erased it. It did. We selected all and then we deleted. Say that you get a document and you love the picture. Oh my gosh, this is the greatest thing on the planet. I want to keep this. Now, of course, you can right click and save as. You can do all those things. But one of the things that you can do, which is really, really cool, and it's under more actions, is you can save to another product called Google Keep. And then you wait, and there it is. It pops up on your screen. And this, of course, is web-based also. It's in the cloud. So you can say this, if I can spell today, this is the best picture on the planet. And click done. And there it is. And you've used Google Keep to allow your pictures, any of your pictures that you want, and you're going to put them right in to a place to save them. Now, like I said, you can copy it. You can do all those things. It's really, really hard you can copy it and then you have to put it somewhere else. It's very difficult to take an image and pull it directly out of a Google product, but you can do it over here in Google Keep. So that makes it a lot easier. Save image as. So you can do that. So why don't you give that a try? Try some voice typing. Cool stuff. Try to change your document, maybe make a copy, and try to save to Google Keep. All right. Now, say that you want to add some comments. Now, you can add comments if it's only yours. So if you click, and over here, I didn't mean to right click, over here are 3 different things. You can suggest edits. You can add an emoji in case you want to say that I love this for whatever reason. And you can also, come on now, let's get rid of that. You can add a comment. Now, why would you add a comment? Let me tell you what I do. I add comments all the time and say, check the authenticity of this graph. And what I'll do is when I write books, I will have pictures, and maybe I don't know who everybody in the picture is. So I'll put a little note saying, identify all people, or as I go through, or I'll allow somebody else to edit, and they get to use comments. Now, how can they edit if they don't have a copy? Well, we've done this a billion times. We're going to do it again. Going to click share. You're going to share it with somebody. Going to share it with myself here and the other dot. And notice, I don't want them to be an editor. I just want them to be a commenter. You can also make them be a viewer. Commenter and say, please comment on any errors or corrections you may see. And of course, I'm having one of those days. And of course, I put comment as a capital. So we're going to send, and they're going to get a copy. And that's going to take care of that. So now, once a comment has been made, you can click the 3 dots here. You can edit it. You can delete it. You can see emoji reaction details, or you can get a link to this comment if there is a link to get. You can also click that, and that tells me that that comment's done. Don't have to worry about it anymore. But it still shows up here in the top right-hand corner about past comments in case you accidentally clicked something and you're like, what did I do that for? You can reopen it. And then, and I'm going to tell you something else that's really, really cool is if you're collaborating with somebody and you make little deals like we just did, you'll get an email and they'll get an email. So you also get an email notifying you, hey, there's some comments that's being made. Why don't you check this thing out and see how that works? You can also put them as a viewer so they can go into suggest and do suggestions. How exactly do you do that? You go right up here and change your editing to suggestions. And now you're suggesting in your comments. So you can also do that. So why don't you, once again, do a little pause the video, check out how to make comments, maybe send it to yourself in another email address or send it to one of your friends and have you guys make comments back and forth. Students like to do this. They like to type back and forth to each other, whether in the body or in the comment section. Makes it kind of frustrating for teachers, but all right, we're about to wrap things up here. We're going to finish up our document. It's all done. It's beautified. It's exactly what you want. Now, what can we do with it to make sure that other people get it, not just the people you shared it with? First off, what you can do is you can download it. File, download. You can download it as a Word document. You can download it as a PDF, and then nobody can change it unless they have PDF editing software, which kind of is salty. You could do it as a plain text, as a rich text format, which is your notepad and your WordPad and the old Windows. You can also use OpenOffice, which is your open document. You can make it a web page. So you could have your entire document a web page that you could attach to your existing website. You can make it an EPUB, which is really cool, which means it works on Kindles and so on and so forth. Or you can actually do a Markdown, which I've never used. So that's one way you can download it, and we can go ahead and I'll show you here. See what it does this time. See, current tab, because we have 5 tabs, or all tabs. And then we can export. That's what I thought. And it's going to open it up, and then we can save it. And it's going to go right up here and save. So that's one way you can download it. You can also go to File and go to Email this file, email the collaborator, so you could just send them an email, or email the draft. So we're going to email this file, and there it is. Who are we going to send it to? We're going to send it to myself. Nobody else wants it. Message. Check this over. Don't attach or include content in the email, which means it's embedded. What kind of file type? Now, you're sitting there going, wait a minute, why can't I send it as a Google Doc? Because a Google Doc isn't a file. Okay, a Google Doc is a website. So you can send it as any of these things and send it right away and send it off. I have to clean up all this stuff after I'm finished, all these things I'm sending to myself. But you can email it. Now, what happens if you decide that you want to look at some of the things that you've done in the past? And we've done a lot to this document. So we're going to go to version history, and we're going to name the current version if we want. We can set that and say final version, which probably it will be. Okay. And now we're going to go back in and we're going to go to see version history. Notice we have our final version. Looks like we've only made 3 changes. Oh no. Au contraire. We're going to click right here and it's going to open up all of our changes that we've made. So we click here and now we're just like at the very, very top. So now we've added that and click that. Now notice we can change the date and give it a name. We can name it. We can make a copy of the old in case case somewhere up here. Let's go up to today. Say that we made a mistake here. We don't want to redo the whole thing. We can make a copy, and now we have a sandbox or an extra copy. We can also restore this version and make this our final version instead of the one up there that I just did. And of course, you can name every single version you want. It's entirely up to you. You can work with it. Now, students, guess what? They get to do this when you look at it and you find out that somebody else has been working on their stuff, or they went from here. I don't think I can redo it, but if you go from like 111 to 111 and all of a sudden you have nothing on the page, and then the next 1111 or 1112 and 1112, you have 4 paragraphs, they cut, copy, and pasted. So be really, really careful about that. Now, the last thing that we're going to talk about, let's get back to our document. We're just going to spend a couple minutes on here. If you go on to extensions and go on to get add-ons, there are a plethora of add-ons that you can get. And it's kind of mind-boggling because you don't want to scroll it like you would like the Google Play Store or the Apple Store, because most of these are basically to help you with your docs. So you need to know ahead of time exactly what you're looking for. Like you want a mail document, and you get to say mail document and it'll mail merge. Mail merge is what I meant. I couldn't think of the name. Mail merge. Here's the bad news. I would check. I got a 4.9. They got a 3.5. So you're going to want this one over this one. And this one's only a 3.0. You're probably not going to want that. You don't want to install a bunch of add-ons because it kind of bogs down the system. And plus, Google isn't Apple. They're really not checking them. So therefore, you don't want something that's going to really mess things up for you. So why don't you try... Let's see. Once you try downloading your doc, sending it to somebody, sending it to yourself, check the version history, and just kind of peruse through the add-on store to see if there's anything there that you want that will make your life easier. Okay, I have some bad news. We are at the end of this amazing Google Docs Advanced training. So let's just kind of recap. What did we talk about today? We talked about how to work with styles in Google Docs, how to make tables and lists and charts, and how to use breaks and columns, and how to add footnotes and table of contents, how to translate it, how to do voice typing, and how to use a lot of the tools and the extra features, and of course, how to use add-ons if you want. I hope you got something out of this. I hope that you can write your paper better now and it'll be less stress on you. I really, really appreciate your time and all the time you spent watching these videos. And I hope they were enjoyable to you. Until next time, this is Sean signing off.